We are here to do justice to the budget estimate for the Ministry of Interior and the agencies under the Ministry of Interior. Our purpose is to look at the breakdown of the budget, invite the Honorable Minister, and as appropriate, invite the relevant agencies under the Ministry to speak to the provisions as are captured in the budget estimate submitted by the President, and I believe the Minister of Finance has further expatiated on them. The whole idea is that at the end of the day, members of the National Assembly will have a clear view of each of those items in the budget and convince ourselves that those provisions are adequate or that they are necessary. I don't want to prejudice anybody's mind, but to convince ourselves that the budget is appropriate. If it is not, we will discuss why and what we think we need to do to make it appropriate. I think the whole idea is to be sure that the budget is in line with our understanding and the commitment of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to reposition the country under the mantra of renewed hope. We committed ourselves to doing everything that can be done to provide security for the Nigerian nation. We all now do understand that nothing matters without security. Not health, not infrastructure, not education, nothing. Because children will go to school if those schools are not safe. Nobody is going to ply the highways, even if they are built with concrete, if the roads are not safe. Nobody is going to go to a hospital, as we saw in Gaza, if the bombs are flying left, right, center. So I cannot think of any committee that is more important than the Ministry of Interior. Its work, its activities cover the whole country. And because security is identified as the key issues that we must address if we are going to attract inflow of foreign investment and even retain existing domestic investment, the country must be safe. And part of the agencies responsible for those are here. We also have with us the immigration who are responsible for who enters Nigeria and ensure that our much talked about porous borders do not provide excuse for foreigners to invade the country, and most of whom turn out to be criminals and compounding the security challenges of the country. So their capacity to manage the borders and ensure that all rules are obeyed will require that they have the tools they need with which to do their job. Fire is also another very strategic agency. If we have no money to build new infrastructure, we must at least be able to secure the existing ones. And all over the world, however hard you try, it is a fact of life that sometimes due to electrical, mechanical, and all kinds of human and non-human intervention, we do have fire outbreak, both in public and private buildings. It should never be said that any Nigeria watches property going in flames because the fire service is unable to intervene timeously, either because they don't have the right vehicles, or they don't have enough manpower, or even when they have those, they are not properly trained. And as a consequence, we have found a lot of Nigerians and even public buildings being destroyed. If you don't have money to acquire more, at least you should do everything to protect what you have. Then we have the correctional services. They are meant to be correctional. They are not killing centers. And given the situation we have in which people who have not been convicted and who under our laws are supposed, and they are indeed in the eyes of the law, innocent until they are convicted, they are, for reasons of our peculiar judicial system and policing system, some of them are languishing in detention without conviction for several years, some of them much more years than they would have spent if they were convicted of the offense. And they have to be fed, they have to be looked after, because for now they are innocent. And with the high cost of living, I will expect that these Nigerians who are unfortunately detained, that they are treated as distant citizens until they are pronounced or convicted. But even at that, they have to be corrected and not killed in prison.
The issue of border control was a major problem being faced by the Nigerian Immigration Service. and immediately we swung into action. As at that time, we had a backlog of 204,332 passports applications. And within 2.5 weeks, we were able to clear that. And I want to put this on record at no extra cost, at no extra financial cost. Because when we say cost, it could be financial, it could be material. So at no extra financial cost to the government. After that, we also had a backlog of over 50,000 within the 2 weeks. And in 4 days, we were able to clear that. And now we've brought the Nigerian Immigration Service to a position now whereby the passports we are producing now are passports captured within the last maximum 10 days. So this is to ensure that service efficiency returns back to the Nigerian Immigration Service. And Nigerians can apply for their travel documents, not just passports, travel documents in general. And all things being equal, if they are not persons of interest, they should be able to have it within a record of 2 weeks. That is what we're working towards. Then in areas of our border control, we are working so hard. By February, we're having e-gates at all our points of entry in terms of the airports. This is to make it to give Nigerians seamless experience in terms of traveling, and to also ensure that we are able to pre-profile people coming into our country before they land into Nigeria. This will help the Nigerian Immigration Service to be able to protect us better. After all, the Nigerian Immigration Service is the agency statutorily saddled with the responsibility of protecting our borders and the responsibility of ensuring both entry and exit within the Nigeria geographical space. Also, we came on board and realized that there's a lot of congestion issues in terms of our correctional service. In our correctional service centers, we realized that we had about 80,000 inmates. And of course, the whole capacity of the correctional center was about 50,000. So it means that there is more than 60% congestion in our correctional centers. And what did we do? We critically analyzed, because we have to understand that correctional service, yes, we are the landlord, but implementation, and of course, we can't decongest effectively without the active support of the Ministry of Justice, because we don't control the courts. We can't do it without the judiciary. So what we did was to be creative, to be innovative, is to be able to analyze critically of these 80,000, how many of them are in there for reasons of inability to pay petty fines. For instance, there are people in correctional centers for months, even for years, with about as low as 10, 20,000 naira. And I want to believe there is nobody that can afford 20,000 naira fine and will decide to stay in our correctional centers. By doing that, we were able to get about 4,068 people out of the correctional centers. We did not pay a dime from the coffers of government. We reached out to the private sector through CSR, and we were able to decongest our prisons, our correctional centers by 5% without a cost to the federal government of Nigeria. What, in details, this has saved Nigeria off is that at the rate of which we feed our inmates, which is about 750 naira per day, by 4,000, means that we have saved Nigeria about 3 million naira a day. In a year, it's about 1.1 billion naira. So we have paid 585 million naira of non-government fund to save Nigeria, to save the taxpayers of 1.1 billion naira. That's part of what we have been able to do. And also, we have also reached out to corporate Nigerians. For instance, just on last week Friday, I was in Lagos, where we commissioned the E-wing of the Muritala Mohammed International Airport. For frequent travelers, we know that place was an eyesore. That was a place that whenever it rains, you will see people putting buckets because of water. Today, it has not just been renovated, it has been completely reconstructed. The number of counters has moved from 7 to 34. This will make traveling seamless and will give Nigeria a good representation and be able to give our people what I call the sweet experience. And of course, issue of illegal migration is a major crisis. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, or 10, 15 years ago, the trajectory, the trend was around the south-south, southeast, southwest axis. But now, we have seen from the whole indicators, we now see the map, the heat map, moving towards the northwest, the north central, and most especially the northeast. So we are already working with IOM and our other international development partners to be able to arrest this trend.
It may well be that in spite of your own concern, which you shared with us about foreigners doing our job, that your ministry in 2022 and perhaps 2023 and even before then have indulged in granting quota for people who didn't deserve it.
I think we can't do away with expatriate quota. But what we need to do is to be able to make sure that the expatriate quota so approved has to be based on need to be. And apart from that, we must activate the law that talks about understudy. If, for instance, there's some specialized, especially in the oil and gas industry, there's some specialized services that you need expatriates at this level because the level of demand, what we have available is smaller than, is below the demand. The supply here is far below the demand. So you need expatriate quota to be approved for those people. And when these people are brought into the country, and that's where I'm very particular as Minister of Interior. I'm extremely particular about monitoring and evaluation because from our portal, we know that, okay, these are expert, this is this expert, this is his name, these are the two understudies. But the question I love to ask is that how genuine are those understudies? Because I see no reason why even why somebody will understudy for 6 years. It's 3 years now. Renewable for another 3 years. So once we renew for you, it's 6 years. Why will you understudy for 6 years and you still not know the job? To me, that is very fishy. In the areas of border control, we have a scenario where we have about 1,800 entry points. And in Nigeria today, we have virtually about 700 or so that are manned. It means that we have more unmanned entry points in Nigeria than manned entry points. To me, there's no bigger threat to internal security than that. So a lot of resources is needed. After all, Barack Obama said, a secure border is a safe nation. Show me a nation that cannot secure its border, and I'll show you a country that will never be able to defend itself. That is the truth. So in the area of border control, the Nigerian Immigration Service needs a lot of help in this particular regard. We're not short of ideas of what to do to secure our borders and to ensure that Nigerians can sleep with their 2 eyes closed. But of course, we are limited due to the paucity of funds. Purchase of project vehicles, because this is very important for our operations, because we have a monitoring unit. For instance, I'll give an example. Issue of expatriates with expired documents. Issues of verification, authentication, monitoring. We need vehicles to, at the moment, we don't have vehicles. We don't have Hilux vehicles to do this job. If we look at what is happening in Alaba, I think some couple of weeks ago, they came, the association, they came to drop a formal letter, the Alaba traders. They came because now we see nationals now going into resale business, not wholesale in Nigeria, especially some I don't want to profile a particular group, but we understand. And that is pushing a lot of our people away. They're taking jobs away from our people. There are so many people in some of these offices that have expired papers. Some they don't even have the number of expatriate quota. Some might have 10 expatriate quota and they have 50 foreigners. So there are a lot of, it has ripple effect in terms of employment opportunities for our youth. And apart from that, we have a policy, we have a law that for every expatriate you bring, you are supposed to have a number, how many understudies? 2 understudies. So the question is, all these expatriates, who are the understudies? Because there are people that have renewed the expatriate quota over and over again. So if you really have understudy, the whole idea is knowledge transfer. For you to be able to let Nigerians learn from you, then you go back, Nigerians can take over the job. But at the moment, we are really, really stretched because we do not have project vehicles. And we think in fact, it's one of the most important things that we need to get. When I resumed, one of the first documents I saw on my table was request for expatriate quota. And what did the person say? The company, one of the multinationals. Expatriate quota, you need to bring in an expatriate to be a storekeeper. How? How? Do you need any special knowledge to be a storekeeper? So these are jobs that Nigerians can do. And it is time that we as a government protect the jobs of people while we are looking at adding more by virtue of job creation.
How many expatriates were in Nigeria that you registered in 2022 and in 2023? Because your job example for me is interesting. You speak to the oil sector, which is the most, if you ask me, I think it's the sector that is the least transparent with regards to all aspects of their business. They are the guys who bring technicians and they rate them as engineers, and they make Nigerian engineers to work under foreign technicians. But it's something that we cannot, at this level, make general or sweepy statements. However, without any of your monitors, Honorable Minister, we can just go out at break time to visit some shops in Abuja, some electronic shops where they sell LG, where they sell Samsung, where they sell even tomatoes, and you will find people who are not Nigerians selling chairs and tables, plastic and all sorts of things in the heart of Abuja. You don't need to pay people, don't pay me, I will do it free of charge. And you will see a number of people who are not supposed to be here. So when you talk of that storekeeper, I see people selling local furnitures. I see people selling radios and televisions in Abuja here. So this is one of the things I said, we must engage you, when I say you, your ministry, that they must they just have to move away from the old assumption that, people can pay and get whatever they want at the expense of Nigerians. And in Kano, maybe I should just mention Kano because it prevails even in Edo State. You will find even granite making, bread making, people hawking bread, who are people of color. I use color now to refer to any non-Nigerian. And these are things you will see, they are not doing it. And some of them live inside the containers. I even believe, I dare say publicly, that there are prisoners who are working in Nigeria, foreign prisoners, who are shipped to Nigeria to serve their prison terms, pay minimum wage, particularly pay the little or nothing based on their country's programs, and you will find them in the construction industry. I don't want to be particular, but if I am provoked, I will. And Honorable Minister, this is a serious issue because even under the WTO rules, prisoners are not expected to work in their country if the product or whatever they are engaged in is meant to be exported. But in this country today, there are people, for you to know that they are prisoners, look at where they sleep. They live in containers. And they are more from a particular country than some other ones. And those things we have to find courage. Even if they borrow us money, they should not take away our sovereignty. And they must not distort our commitment to creating jobs at home. And there are many who come here as tourists. If you look at their visa, tourists, they don't have work permit, and they are working completely illegally. While Nigerians are being harassed, not only in Africa, but outside Africa. I think you do have a huge task. And I share your enthusiasm. You have demonstrated within your first month in office what Nigeria will begin to wonder, what is the big deal about passport.